So I want to talk about two moments that happened way back about 25 years ago. The second of which is actually February 22nd, 1987. It was my 12th birthday. I'm adorable. And I got my first skateboard, little blue banana board. My first trick was pushing myself from wall to wall, and I'm really happy to say I can still do that. But it was really kind of funny, this whole thing. You see, my mom wasn't really psyched on the idea of me doing something I might get myself hurt on, as most parents are. But my dad had this idea of, all little kids should get a chance to try it at least once. And I don't think he realized what he was getting himself into, because up until that point, I didn't stick with anything. I didn't really do team sports. I didn't play soccer or baseball. Nothing really caught my interest. But the skateboard did. And within one short year, I was a full-fledged skate rat. I had a little Tony Hawk flop, for those of you who grew up in the 80s. I had a little dirt stash. The world started going differently. I started hanging out with different friends from school. These are the guys that I realized they had skate shirts on. And so we started talking, and they started introducing me to new music, things like that. From there, we start building that circle, and you start traveling a little bit more, exploring your area. This group, they were all a little older, so they had a car, so I could kind of jump in with them before I could drive. I also kind of learned about screen printing, which is a big point in there. But from there, I come up to RIT in Rochester, and I meet this incredible group of people who introduced me to this whole world of art and design. And then they start taking me on bigger trips, and we start going even further. I left for a bit, came back, and met a new group of people who opened me up to different opportunities, different things I could do. And kind of hooked me in so that I was now working at RIT instead of just taking classes there. And then as we kept going on in my years in Rochester, I started meeting more and more people, and each of these people kind of popping on the screen, there's some part of conversation that kind of made me stop and think, and I started going a different way. I started acting on different things. And it started making me grow, and my whole view of the world started changing. Through that time, I also started traveling more. And as Ada's talk reminded me, I still have a whole other half of the globe that I need to get to. I've been able to see some really cool stuff, but there's a lot more out there. And while we were doing these travels, something else was happening. My obsession with graphics was growing by leaps and bounds. It started out with t-shirts, because they're affordable art. I can go down to a store, get it. I was enamored with the graphics. From there, I started paying attention to the skateboard graphics. We poured over them in the magazine before we could get them, and now they're coming out very quickly all the time. But with each of these things, I started not just wearing them, but collecting them. I've now got almost every t-shirt that I ever owned, so it's a little over 1,000, pack-ratted away, just for the memories. I love these things. And then I started getting skateboards, and we started getting those. And then we go to prints. And then I started going back to those friends of mine and being like, hey, you make art, can I get some original art? And started building my collection that way. And eventually, in one of these conversations that I would have, a friend of mine's like, you got so much stuff, you should have a show. And I was like, I'll do you one better, I'm gonna start a gallery. So, at current time, I run something called 1975, and it's really, it's an art gallery, but it's a celebration of all these people I've met along the way. It's all these people who are so incredibly talented in what they do, and it's inadvertently opened up new doors where more people are coming in, and I meet new people like the folks that have joined me in forming this thing called the Sweet Meat Collective, where I get to be with more like-minded individuals who push me to do more things. From there, I've also grown that circle and been incredibly fortunate to meet a kindred spirit in Dr. Ian Wilson and his wall therapy project, and getting to be a part of that, because we both have this passion for art and how it influenced us over the years, and we just want to share it. We want people to see the things that we see, because it's so important to us. And even more, though, is I'm really honored to be part of this group of folks trying to bring a skate park to Rochester, this Roc City Skatepark, because I've seen firsthand how this skateboard can kind of take you from place to place to place. But all of this, and I've had incredible adventures, like I said, along the way. Now, all of this is predicated on what happened earlier in 1987, on January 19th, 1987 to be exact. On that day, I came home from school, arriving home about the same time as my dad, to discover that during a break-in at our house, my mother had been murdered. And she was only 38 at the time. And obviously the world changes a little bit. The night before, I'd been playing Scrabble, and I actually got in an argument with my mother that I don't think I ever kind of patched up. But the next day, I'm pulling my little 8-year-old brother off the bus and telling him that, hey, you're not going to see Mom again. She's gone. Over the next week, a lot of things would happen. The first of which is my dad took us aside that night and said, hey guys, you don't have to go to school tomorrow. And normally that's awesome. Who wants to go to school? And I looked at him with my big blue eyes, because I didn't have big honking glasses at the time. And I'm like, Dad, I've got to get on with my life, from an 11-year-old. I look back now and I can realize it was a coping mechanism. I was trying to see that life would go on. I was trying to see that what just happened was a thing, and the world still continues because I didn't have a frame of reference for this type of event. But I also was watching the adults around me, and some of them were rising to this challenge. They were taking it on head on, and then just as many though were making excuses. They're using someone very close to me in our family to this day still says, oh, I can't go back to that town. It's the town that this is what happened. And I vowed very early on that I never wanted to make or use something like that as an excuse not to live life, not to do something. I mean, we all make excuses. We got too much homework, got too much work, we can't go out to this, that, the other thing. I mean, I'm just as guilty as the next person. But when it comes to the really important things that matter, I don't want to make an excuse. I want to face it head on, and if I get knocked down, as long as I pick myself back up, keep moving forward, I'm winning. I'm coming ahead at that moment. The other really important thing that I remember from that week actually took place at the end of the week. It was the funeral. And I'm in Pennsylvania, normally not very snowy, but for whatever reason, we had a 2-foot blizzard that day. And we didn't really expect many people to be able to make it to the service. And by the time that service started, the place was packed. There were over 300 people, standing room only, who had all come out to say goodbye. Now, I was very impressed by this as a little kid. I didn't understand why, but it's been 25 years I've been thinking about this for a while. And I realized that in those short 38 years, she was able to impact so many people's lives so positively that they would risk their own to come say goodbye. And all these moments kind of built together to form these kind of 3 tenets that I unofficially use in my own life. The first of which is take a chance. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? It doesn't work. So you learn something, you move forward from this. I even go so far as to look at, my dad took a chance and gave me a skateboard. And I look now back at how much that one simple gesture has given me in such a rich life that I've had as a result. Second one's lead by example. Don't wait for someone else to do it. If you've got an idea, something you're passionate about, just go do it, because hopefully you're going to inspire the best in others. People will see what you've done and be like, you know what? I'll get up on that stage and talk about something. I'll go ask that person. I'll go do something instead of just thinking about it and wondering what might have happened. I see I'm running a little fast, but I want to leave you just with this one short thought. As I'm standing before you today, I'm 37 years old, and in February I'll be 38, and I cannot wait to see what comes next. Thank you very much.